In this video, we're going to be talking about how to set the teeth on a Japanese saw. I've got two methods to share with you. One is slow and easy, and the other one is fast but difficult. G'day, welcome to Chestnut and Ag. My name's 𝗠𝗱, and in the last video I did on this channel, I was talking about and showing you how to sharpen the saw teeth of a 𝗦𝗿 𝗏𝗄𝐺𝐺𝑖, or a Japanese crosscut log saw. Now, a big point that I wanted to make in that video was that sharpening saws isn't that hard, and a lot of the stuff that you already know about sharpening chisels, plane irons, knives, it translates directly to saws. The only real difference when it comes down to it is when it comes to getting all those individual teeth on a saw working together, and that's where we need to talk about set. The job of set is to create a slightly wider hole than the body of the saw, so that the saw can pass freely backwards and forwards through the hole that the saw's made, or what's called the kerf. If that hole is too big, then the saw can be free to wander a fair bit, which means it can be hard to get a straight cut. It also means that you're doing a lot more work. You're removing a lot more wood than you need to, and who wants to do extra work than we need to? But how much set you need and how much bigger the kerf needs to be than the saw body depends upon the work you're doing, or more specifically the wood that you're working with and the condition of that wood. And this is one of the cool advantages of knowing how to do this yourself and using these older style blacksmith made saws, is that you can set them up to do the job that you want to do. Now, with modern industrial saws, you can't do that. For example, with the 𝗏𝗶𝗏 Japanese saws that I sell, you can get crosscut saws of different sizes, you can get rip saws of a number of different sizes, different size ryoba, but you can't get different tooth grinds or different sets within those classifications. You get a 265 crosscut blade, it has set grind and set. You can't change it. But if you learn how to sharpen teeth yourself and how to do the set yourself, you can tailor your saws to your job, just like you can with chisels, where you will vary the bevel angle depending on the style of work that you're doing and the type of wood that you're working with. What determines how much set you need is a spectrum, and it depends on two factors. The first is the hardness and density of the wood, and the second is the moisture content. Now, at one end of the spectrum, where you need a lot of set, you are dealing with very soft woods that are also very wet. Now, the softer the wood, the more fuzzier the fibers tend to be after you've cut them. The greener the wood, or the higher moisture content of the wood, again, the fuzzier the cut is when you do the cut. And so what tends to happen with very soft wood that's very wet is you get a lot of fibers sticking out from the walls of the kerf, and that creates a lot of friction which binds on the body of the saw. So you need more kerf to keep those ends of the fibers away from the saw body so it's freer to move. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got very, very dense woods that are very, very dry, because the denser they are, the harder they are, the drier they are, the cleaner the fibers are going to cut. And that means the smaller and the less of the fibers sticking out from the walls of the kerf are going to be, which means you don't need as much clearance between the walls of the kerf and the body of the saw. And the only other consideration would be is rip cuts tend to need more set than cross cuts. How much you put on a saw, though, is something you've just got to kind of do by feel. And once you've got some experience, you can probably, you can prejudge it. But until you've set a few saws, you're probably advised to just put a little amount of set, and then if the saw's not working properly, you add some more. Which brings us to, how do you do it? Well, first method is slow, but it's really easy for someone like you or I, who doesn't have the professional training of a 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, to get our heads around and doing a very, very good job, even if it takes us a while. You're going to think it's heinous, but here it is. It's a saw set. I know, shock horror. This one's made by Disston for Western saws. The Disston saws, if you know Western hand tools, Disston's a really, really good brand. It's been around for hundreds of years. Very, very good saws. Presumably very, very good saw sets. I mean, but it's for Western saws. It's that you can't do that with a Japanese saw. You can't use a saw set. Well, you can. And do you know how I know? It's because the Japanese tell me that you can. There's not many 𝗦𝗿 around in Japan anymore, and their services aren't exactly cheap. So, Japanese amateur woodworkers like you and I often don't send their saws to be professionally sharpened by 𝗦𝗿 every single time, and sometimes they use a saw set. And so if it's good enough for them, if it's not this massive blasphemy for them, then I think we can do it too. This one I picked up at a swap meet many years ago. It's a very, very good quality saw set. Unfortunately though, it is too small to handle the teeth on my big 𝗦𝗿 𝗂𝗶𝘁𝗃, so I've had to go to option 2. And that is where you use an anvil and a hammer. With a hammer and anvil, you watch videos of professional 𝗦𝗿 when they're putting the set on the teeth. They just go tap, 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 and the saw's done on one side. And they do the saw on the other side. Takes them like a minute or two, and they've done a whole saw. But that's because they know what they're doing, and they're very, 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 very well practiced. I've never set a saw with a hammer before. This is going to be my first attempt. Let's see how we go. Well, I've got something that I think is going to do rather well as an anvil. It's this little doover. So it just so happens that I've got a block of wood here, but do you see the difference in the steel there? That means we've got the face of this is hardened steel, which means I can't hit it with a hammer. But it's fortunate that I do have the appropriate tool. What we've got for this process is the saw setting hammer. Now this is one that I haven't done anything to in terms of restoration or anything like that. It's got a little bit of corrosion on it. And it's quite a big one, which is fortunate because we've got a big saw to set. So if we look at the teeth, we can see those grooves? They're from the previous setting of the teeth, and it's been struck with the hammer. And we can see that they're on a particular angle, and so that's what I want to try and duplicate. Maybe if I have it on this face here. Alright, I'm going to change the angle of this strike because I suspect that the person who did it the other way was right-handed, and I hope it's not important. Quite hard to feel any movement. You've got to actually give it quite a blow, it seems. That's a bit better. And you've got to be careful not to hit the adjacent tooth, because that's the cutting edge. So you've got to make sure you land it right on there. Now that's the tooth that we didn't sharpen, so I'm going to leave that one alone. Ooh. Alright, what I've actually done there is I've cracked the tooth. Now I'm pretty sure that crack must have already been there because I didn't hit it any harder than the others. Now I think that crack there is old, because if you see that black piece of metal there, I think that is old corrosion, and see this, it's like a ledge. It looks like it's flaked off. So
Okay, I've cracked it with the hammer, but it looks like it was already on its way out. So I would try and minimize the set on that tooth to minimize the amount of... Actually, I'm not sure how you would treat that. Do I leave it in place so that the tooth helps maintain position of the saw in the kerf, or do I break it off so it's, you know, it's a clean cut and then we can just get on with it? I don't know. If you've got an idea or a suggestion, let us know in the comments.
Bugger.
So looking down the line, it looks pretty even. So that might just come out a little bit.
Now the reason I've left this bit of the video footage in and not cut it is because I wanted to show you how much faster I've got with setting each tooth.
Damn it.
Now this is the first saw that I've set with a hammer, and with just a little bit of practice I'm already getting faster, I'm already getting better. And this is one of the biggest points I want to make with doing these videos on sharpening saws yourself, is it's not that hard, and you can take a blunt saw and you can make it sharper. It might never be super sharp, but it's going to be sharper than it was, and that's going to make using the saw more fun, because you're not going to be working as hard, but it's also going to help you to do better quality work as well. So just have a go, seriously, just have a go.
Alright, well that was a bit hair raising. Now the amount of set that I've given this is pretty minimal. I'm not sure if you can see. There's just a slight deviation. What I am pleased with is that it looks pretty even. It looks like I've got one or two teeth that are a little bit not quite in line. So before, when we looked down the line, everything was lined up with the chisel point teeth, the cleaning teeth. But if we look now, you can see that I've just got the slightest gap to the left and right of those gullet cleaning, or the kerf cleaning teeth next to the gullets. And pretty much those teeth look like they're pretty even. Like that one there looks like it's a little bit out of place, but the rest of them look pretty good. So we got this chisel point here. It's very hard to get the camera working right for this. I'll see if I can slip it into this window here, the gullet, and I've just got a slight little bit of set there. So probably not enough to do log cutting, which is what this saw is really for, but probably enough for the job that I want to use it for, which is making my Japanese rhyming brake. So yeah, that will be finally the next video. 2 or 3 videos ago I started to set out to make this Japanese rhyming brake, and then I realized I needed the saw, and then I needed the files, and then so we finally had it. So the next video, if you want to see it, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification, because I'll be making that Japanese rhyming brake, well, in the next video. Catch you guys later. Bye bye.